that this is being recorded, and we'll crack on. So basically, just to give you a little bit of background, I don't think I've met Louise and Alistair before, but a couple of things about me. So what I do is a lot around supporting business growth and personal development within the people that I work with. And what I do is I try and teach business owners how to sort of give them basic business skills to grow their businesses. And I work mainly with micro businesses and small businesses. And for me, it's a lot about personal development as well. So I've been running these sessions now for a little while, since the summer. And over recent sessions, what we've done is we've covered a lot on sales process and looking at in-depth ways of prospecting, qualification, how to deliver a really good pitch, how to handle objections, and how to close. So we've also looked at something called marginal gains, which is basically how small improvements can impact massively on your turnover. And you can view some of those past webinars on my YouTube channel, which I'll put a link in the chat for you to download, and feel free to just go and have a look at some of those old recordings. But what we're basically looking at doing is sort of today is we're looking at measuring it, managing it, and how you improve it. And it's about essential sales metrics. And really, to run a business, you really need to be measuring what you're doing. So a lot of times people talk about accountancy as knowing your numbers and knowing your accountancy figures, which is absolutely true. You do need to. But what we're going to be focusing on today really is sales KPIs. But firstly, I want to sort of like highlight how sales KPIs fit within the whole sort of sales mix. So each of these items that you see on the screen are of equal importance. And what to do to be successful in sales, you really need to be skilled in all of these elements and see how they all link together. So we've covered sales process in quite a bit of depth on the other webinars, as I've mentioned. However, just to reiterate, I always believe that there is a process to everything that you do within business, and sales is no different. And if you don't follow a process, then you're likely to miss things off. So having a really sort of a robust sales process is always very, very handy. Sales skills are the skills that you need to do to ensure that you're recognizing and acting upon opportunities effectively in a manner that doesn't sort of come across as too salesy, but it gets the job done effectively. Gone are the days of the hard sell, and so now we're having to employ sort of different skills to make sure that clients really want the services that we're providing, and how we go ahead and provide them. Having a comprehensive client knowledge is all about knowing who your clients are, which gives you an insight into the challenges that they face, and it provides you with a real advantage when you're actually talking to them. So creating client avatars is a great way of understanding who your clients are, and it can help you set up your whole marketing angle. Market knowledge is about understanding your industry and knowing what your competitors are charging and what they're doing, how they're promoting themselves, the products and the services they offer, where they excel, where they don't, how you can differentiate yourself from those people as well. And then within product knowledge, within your own business, you're the expert of your products or services, and excellent product knowledge is essential. But it's not just about having excellent product knowledge, it's about being able to translate that knowledge to benefit your clients, where that's where comprehensive product knowledge really comes into its own. But today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be focusing on the joyous subject of KPIs, which is something that I get very enthusiastic about. Your sales KPIs are basically key performance indicators. And what they do is they're simple tracking tools that you can understand how your sales are performing. So this is probably one of my favorite expressions. If you don't measure it, you can't manage it. Now, within business, we often make decisions based upon our gut feeling. We know, knowing your numbers doesn't just refer to knowing your accounting numbers, as I mentioned earlier. It's about knowing how certain changes that you make within your business are affecting your business. And that's the point of key performance indicators. Used correctly, they can help you make really good strategic decisions within your business. So in sales, KPIs, the metrics that you use to measure how closely the sales performance is maybe tracking your predetermined goals and how that performance impacts on the business as a whole. And by understanding your KPIs, it enables you to make smart business decisions about the direction on the projects or the business activities that you're doing. So let's look at some KPIs in more depth. Now, most of the numbers basically form the base. Most of the numbers that you get that form the basis of KPIs can be found in your accounts package. So things like the number of orders that are placed, the number of invoices that are raised, the number of clients that you invoice, the value of your invoices placed, and the size of your spend on marketing. Other metrics that you may want to record to set up your processes, you might need to record separately. So things like the number of calls that you're making, the number of decision makers that you're speaking to, the number of calls that you're making to existing client. The list really does go on, and it's one of those things that it can be a really exhaustive list, and you could have millions of things that you're measuring. Like I say, there are multiple KPIs that you can measure. So, for example, if you're doing the prospecting side of things, you can be looking at the calls you're making. You could be looking at the decision makers you're speaking to. You could be looking at the number of referrals you've received. You could be looking at the number of proposals that you sent, as well as the inquiries that you're receiving. So in qualification, you can measure how many prospects lead to meetings, how many meetings lead to proposals, etc. You can measure the objections that you get, and how you manage those objections and how many of those objections you manage to convert. Basically, you can measure everything. The problem here is you'd spend more time collating numbers than you would actually doing your job. Now, that's fine if you've got a sales manager within a business, which is a major part of their job. But if you're a small business, like most of us are, then the key for you here is to manage the things that are important. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through 7 that I feel are relevant to most businesses, particularly small businesses. And there may be others that are more specific to your industry, but these are the 7 that I think are really relevant to small business. So the first one is number of inquiries per month. What this does is this tells you how many inquiries you're getting on a monthly basis. Now that's new inquiries from new prospects, not necessarily inquiries from existing prospects. Then you can look at your average order value. This is exactly what it says on the tin. This is basically the average of every order that you process. Now, some orders might be higher than others, but remember, it's an average. So you're best to take an average over a prescribed period, maybe a month, a quarter, or a year. And if you work in a retail environment, then you may want to measure the average transaction value. Conversion rates, we've all heard of conversion rates, but this is expressed basically as a percentage and gives you a measurable statistic that compares the number of inquiries you've received against the number of inquiries that you've converted into business. It can help give you the number of inquiries that you might need to be generating to be hitting your sales targets and that sort of thing. And we'll go into that in a bit more depth in a bit. The average orders per month per client refers on how often you get repeat orders from each client. So in one of my old businesses, this was a really important metric that we measured. We had some clients that would order weekly, we had some that would order every other week, and we had some that were very ad hoc and some that were annual. So the customer lifespan really refers to how long a client stays with you. Is it a one-off order, or are there likely to be repeat orders that you're going to be getting? This gets you to understand how long they typically work with you, and if you're able to do anything different to extend that working relationship. The number of customers per month, how many clients are you working with on a monthly basis? If you know the average client value as well, this enables you to understand what each client is worth, which could influence your focus into client retention. It also enables you to predict what your average turnover is likely to be each month. And then lastly, the sales cycle length. It's useful to know how long it takes to convert an inquiry into an order. It enables you to plan and predict your future income. So for example, if your sales cycle is typically 2 months and you know your conversion rate, what you can do is you can work out how your future sales will be affected in month 3 just by understanding the prospects that you've got in your sales pipeline in month 1. So you may have multiple product lines as well, which you might want to put a KPI to measure each of the individual product lines, or put KPIs in place to measure each of the individual product lines and work out the proportion of overall income you can get from each product line. Again, this will show you the importance of each product line. And it might be that one product line is a feeder or a starter point for the next product line for your I suppose your main products that you're wanting to sell. So let's focus on some of these KPIs. So understanding the number of inquiries you're getting is probably the most simple and fundamental of all of the metrics that you're doing. And you should measure it because it basically forms the basis for everything else that you need. So it's set over a typically it's set over a period, the number of inquiries you receive over the course of that set period. And it could be a day, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a quarter, it could be a year. You really, really define the period that you're looking at. And the other thing is you can do with this is you can narrow it down slightly. So you can look at where these inquiries are coming from. Are they coming from your website? Are they coming from your social media? Are they coming from existing clients? Are they coming from referrals? And you can plot this marketing activity and see how those inquiries are directly related to that activity. You can measure where the inquiries are coming from, and it will enable you to concentrate your efforts in the more productive areas. To give you an example of how you might use this, if you're spending, for example, £1,000 on your social media a month, but you're only getting a small proportion, say 10% of your inquiries through social media, and you're spending £500 a month on SEO, but you're getting 15% of your inquiries there, then would it be better to divert some of your social media budget into improving your or spending onto your SEO? And if you were to reduce your social media spend, does that affect the number of inquiries you're going to be getting there? Now, you wouldn't know that information unless you're actually specifically measuring it. The next one is the average order value or the average transaction value, which is basically the average of every order that you process. So again, it's usually set over a defined period. And like all averages, the longer the period that you're working on, the more data you have and the more accurate your average is likely to be. So I tend to do this when I'm looking at the average transaction value. I tend to do it over a year. If I've not put my prices up or anything like that, then that's quite a good way for me to measure it. It then gives me a really, really good basis to do that. So let's see how you work that out. So the first thing that you do is you look at the total number of invoices that you've made, so the total value of the number of invoices made, and then you divide that by the number of orders that you received. So to give you an example, if you've invoiced £10,000 worth of sales and you've made 20 orders, then it would give you an average order value of £500. So for me, this is the third one of the most important KPIs. And as I said, conversion rates give a measurable statistic that shows how successful you are in converting opportunities into business. They compare the number of inquiries you've received against the number of inquiries that you've converted into business. And what it can do is it can give you an idea of the number of inquiries you need to be generating and hitting your sales targets. So if you know your average order value and your average conversion rate, and you have a sales target, then you can work, then that gives you the information that you need. So what you can do is you can set the target for the number of inquiries that you need a month, so you can hit that target. So here's a question for you, and feel free to put the answers in the chat. If you've got a conversion rate of 50% and your average order value is £1,000 and your monthly target is £10,000, how many inquiries do you need to generate that £10,000? So you can put that in the chat if you want to. Well, the answer is 20 inquiries per month. And you just basically work that out. The other thing to think about here is if your conversion rate is low, below, say, 30%, you really need to look at your sales process. And the only way that you'll do that is you'll know what your conversion rate is. So my conversion rate generally runs around 65%. You can also compare your conversion rate against the marketing channels that you're using. So for example, if your conversion rate is 50%, but you only manage to convert 15% of those leads from your website, you know those leads that are generating are not as effective as the other sales channels that you're doing. So you can revisit and improve that area of the business as well. So in a previous webinar, I talked about the power of marginal gains and how you can make small changes to create a big impact. And to do this, you need to understand your average orders per month per client. So it refers to how often per month you get repeat orders from each client. And this enables you to focus on increasing the number of orders each client is placing per month. So here's a bit of an example. So again, if you're getting 50 orders per month, you divide that and you've got 40 clients that have placed those orders, that will give you 1.2 orders per month per client. Now, the way that you would use this is, and how this all ties together, let's say you've got 8 clients per month, and on average, they're spending £400 each, and they're only placing 1 order with you each month. You need to make a business decision on how you can grow this. So if we look at this example here, what you've got is you've got number of orders per month, number of customers per month, you've got 8. You've got an average order value of 400, and you've got an average orders per customer of 1. What that does is that gives you a monthly turnover of £3,200 and an annual turnover of 38,400. Now, if you were to increase these by 10%, this is what happens. So your average number of customers per month goes up to 8.8. Your average order value goes up to £440, and the average number of orders per customer goes up to 1.1. Now, that's not a massive change in what you're doing, but the impact is quite significant. So your monthly turnover will go up by £1,000. Your annual turnover will go up from 38,000 to 51,000, which is about a 33% uplift on your turnover. Now, there is a full webinar on this process, but actually what you're doing here is you're really understanding how your KPIs are impacting your business. So you're looking at the things that you can improve to make things happen within the business. And that's the crucial thing here. And this is a great model, and it actually does work in a real world scenario as well. And there is, like I say, a full webinar about marginal gains and how they can impact your business. But it's a great illustration of what you can do to help make your KPIs become more focused in helping you make those business decisions. So I've run through that fairly quickly. Again, it's one of those things that KPIs are one of those things that are quite important. But I just wanted to see if you've got any questions on the things that I've run through there. So either no questions means I've bamboozled you with loads of information and you haven't got any questions, or I've answered them all in the course of the presentation. So really, I wanted to just sort of run through what I do a little bit. So basically, I'm a business mentor, and I support businesses in a one-to-one environment and help businesses go through the startup phase of the business. And I'm also setting up something called Business Boost Academy, which is basically an education networking group coaching platform that's going to be launching in January. And what it does is it features a lot of business skills lessons that can be accessed all, 24/7 because they're videoed. There's going to be networking sessions. There's going to be expert sessions. There's going to be podcasts that are exclusive to members, member drop-in sessions of business resources, and much more. And it's targeted very much at the micro business owner and sole trader to give them the support they need. So I'm offering a special rate in January of £69 a month, which is basically a third off what I'm going to be charging for the whole thing as a result. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing. So that's me working as in a one-to-one, and that is what the Business Boost Academy logo is going to be looking like, and that's where it's going to be going live. So really, the last thing to do is thank you for coming on to this morning. And if you've got any questions, feel free to drop me a line, and I'll be more than happy to help out and answer those questions. Or if you want to arrange a one-to-one, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can get something sorted. So thank you very much for coming on board.
Thanks, Steve.
No worries, Louise. You take care.
You too, and enjoy that sunshine down there.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and you take care. See you later.
Yeah.